InDigital is on a mission to improve the 911 industry. Our goal is to create something better to go above and beyond the current standards. Our passion for creating the most advanced, well-designed solutions led to our position as an industry leader in next-gen core services. For the millions of calls processed over our emergency IP networks, to our Text for 911 solution, Texty, to our disaster recovery and backup solution, Mevo, it's easy to see we love what we do. For more information, check us out at www.indigital.net.
Rapid Deploy believes that every public safety agency, regardless of size, should have access to the data they need when it matters most. That's why since 2016, our mission has been to reduce emergency response times and improve public safety. We are the industry's only integrated emergency response platform. Our web-based cloud platform includes analytics, mapping, dispatch, and mobile apps, purpose-built for 911 in the 21st century. Visit www.rapiddeploy.com to learn how we enable effective, efficient, data-driven emergency response.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show. Oh, yeah. Welcome. This is the Dispatchers Roundtable, and it is round 9. We are about to get started here. I see people joining in, and let me throw some branding up in this piece. There we go. We've got that one, and bam. All right. We're about to get started. We're going to have some fun, and this live broadcast is sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy, and thank you very much to all the patrons for everything that you do. I wouldn't be able to do everything that I do without you, as well as all of you who are watching and listening, those who are supporting. I appreciate it more than you know. Again, this is the Dispatchers Roundtable. This is round 9, and I am going to start by introducing my guests. But first, actually, you know what? I'll save the intro music. Let me do the introducing first. So here we go. My first guest, bam. Leslie, NENA instructor, how's it going?
It is going well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Excellent.
Now, you just got out of work, right?
I did. I skidded into this podcast, but it was worth it. You know, the pursuit on my way home as they were chasing me, it's fine. I'm not worried.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. That's what happened to her? I think she's live right now.
I think, yeah.
It is all good. Well, thank you so much for joining. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Next up, we have the infamous, maybe? Doug.
Yeah, very infamous.
Doug Showalter.
Hey, whoa. Hold on. It's me.
Yeah. What is going on? Doug Showalter with
Oh, man.
Great to have you, dude.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, our good friend, Joe McCarville of 911 Gold Line Training.
Hello, everybody.
Or old line training, like we like the kids with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right. The
Old
old
line.
training. Yes.
Yes, the old line training did make it kind of famous there for a little bit, but that was funny.
Yes. Well, now that I've introduced all of you, you are also the crew from the We Speak Dispatch podcast. And this is it weekly or every other week?
It's about every week now.
Every week?
Yeah.
All right. You guys got episodes going up. You're on iTunes. You're all over the place.
Oh,
Also on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah.
iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio.
I
Joe's
think there's
got
9 different ones.
Yeah.
Joe's got us on, so we're on everything. You can't
we
avoid
send out smoke signals on Thursday morning, and skywriting on every other Saturday.
Periodically, I go to people's houses, knock on the door. You want to hear this?
And we're also on
And most of
Facebook,
them say, "No, we don't."
Yeah. No.
We don't.
No.
Nice.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Excellent. Well, we're about to get started, so let me hit the music here.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to the Dispatchers Roundtable.
Nice.
Boom.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Once again, the Dispatchers
Wow.
Roundtable, round number 9. It is August 26th. It is just after 8 o'clock. We've got several people joining in here. Let's do a roll call. Those who are coming in, where are you watching or listening from? And we've got one out of Wisconsin here already. Hello,
Wow.
hello, Rebecca. How's
Wow.
it
Hello, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Hello, Wisconsin.
Goodness
Thank you.
gracious.
Now, we're going to get into some topics here as everyone is rolling in to watch and saying where they're out of. And Carson City, Nevada. All right. Welcome.
Sweet.
Welcome.
Nice.
Should I update where I'm out of? Hold on, let me put that on there.
Oh, that's right. Because you're not on the west side anymore.
Well, I'm not. I've left the West Coast. I'm in Middle Tennessee, over here in beautiful Murfreesboro, just outside of Nashville.
How dare you?
I know.
And
I moved
Leslie,
to
where are you
Southern
from?
Command. Right there.
I'm representing the West Coast. So,
Talk
yeah.
slow.
so really?
And
Oh,
I'm
Southern
representing
California.
the Midwest and from Iowa.
That's right. Iowa,
Wow.
dude.
Kelsey's from Iowa.
Hey, Kelsey, thanks for joining from Iowa.
Yeah, hell yeah. There you go. Excellent. We got Miami, Florida. All right.
Wow.
Natalie,
Nice.
how's it going?
Natalie, yes.
Oh, man. This is
Wow.
going to be good. This is going to be excellent. So, Colorado, we got Colorado jumping in there as well.
Nice.
Hey now. Wow.
This past Monday was I Am 911 Day, August 24th. It was the anniversary of the birth of the I Am 911 movement. There were things all over the place. People were sharing different stories and all types of stuff. I had so much shit that I was doing that day that I was trying to keep up with everything. When I was done at the end of the day, I had a crazy headache. Like I was going cross-eyed because I also at the same time launched the registration and everything for the conference.
Sure.
And so everything was going back and forth, back and forth. There were so many notifications. I didn't get a chance to see them. I think I finally caught up today. And, along with the launch of Dare to Be Great 2, Leslie and Doug, you are both speaking. And we're doing you guys are doing 2 different sessions there. You guys are doing the sessions. You guys will be part of the We Speak Dispatch part of it. And then Joe actually is a silver sponsor. So
Oh,
Yes.
hold on here.
awesome. Silver sponsor of the conference. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that so much.
We're not worthy.
Thank you.
I cannot wait for everything that you have that you're going to be talking about there. So that is going to be excellent. Now, one of the things that I wanted to share as well is, I saw this today. Like I said, I just caught up with everything. Let me pull it up here because I just want to give a shout out. And I don't know if any of them are watching, but maybe they'll see it in the replay. So I want to share this really quick here because I thought this was really cool.
Oh,
And
wow. Look at
Wow.
this is from
Very cool.
Harrisonburg, Rockingham Emergency Communications Center out of, I believe, Virginia. And
that. Wow.
this was awesome. They have their caption says, today we as dispatchers are celebrating National I Am 911 Day. And in the quote here, it says, in the moment of crisis, I am the voice within the trenches. And then it says, we would like to honor all of our fellow communicators throughout the country as we are the first responders. And then it says,
Damn.
hashtag
That's cool.
That's
I am
awesome.
911.
Very cool.
So I saw that today, and I just,
Wow.
man, I was in awe. So thank all of you for doing that. That is amazing. I'm gonna, with your permission, I would love to add that to one of the albums that I have there on the podcast page. So
That's beautiful. You can't not. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I know,
That's
right.
awesome.
it was really really cool. So I wanted to give them a shout out and show that I thought that was amazing. So
That's a lot of work doing that. Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
let
nice.
me bring that down from there. And man, there's a bunch of people. South Texas.
Oh, South Texas. How you doing in South Texas?
Nice, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thinking about
I hope they're safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes, please be safe.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, prayers, good vibes, everything to all of you out there in Texas and
Everybody.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then the one from Wisconsin. I mean, talk about just,
Yeah.
and I don't know whether or not the things that are on the news happened where that person is, but man, I mean, it's every day. And the beauty about all of this is sometimes we think, oh, I just work in my own little comm center and nothing ever happens. But I mean, the networking and the connections and this whole, I am 911, we're such a family that now, we can see a location and go, oh my gosh, hope you're okay, and reach out and just, good vibes. Like you said, good vibes to everybody out there.
And I'm always telling them to reach out and tell other people like, hey, we're with you, man. We're all in this thing together. Yeah. It's like, so I always tell them, don't think you're here. It's our comm center is the only one feeling this way. Not. We're all with it.
One of the interesting things about this group is since the things and the events have unfolded in Wisconsin, we've stayed in touch, and we're not even there, and we're checking on each other and making sure we all know what's going on. Just the people on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nice to show everybody that, hey, it doesn't matter if I was on the West Coast or wherever we are, we're still all together with you, no matter what's going on. So
and look at this one comment from Galveston. We're definitely thinking about you guys in Galveston, 10 minutes from there.
Yep.
Wow.
We're thinking about all you guys. Stay safe.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
A little calm before the storm, a little windy now, but no rain yet.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow. Well, just a big shout out to not only the fact that you're sitting there doing your job, and I know, especially Joe has some experience recently with just natural disasters where you're sitting and doing your job and you're helping and you're helping and you're helping. Meanwhile, your house is getting pummeled by, winds or rain. And it's just a testament to that album cover that you showed before, Ricardo, of, we are the first responders. Mm-hmm. And I think we've said it enough that people are starting to go, yeah, you know what? Hell yeah, we are. And so good on you and everybody to take some pride in the job that you do, because it's without you, public safety doesn't exist. And that's huge.
I mean, I'll tell you a good thing is I usually talk about I am 911 in every class I ever teach. I just always it's always the first thing I talk about. It's so cool now that I bring it up, and 90% of the people are like, we do it already. We're listening to it. And I'm like, awesome. That is so great. It's like, I like to have everybody kind of on it. And then I tell them about the Thursdays that you were doing and all, and everybody's like, what time is that? I'm like, I don't know, because I'm on whatever time zone I'm in. Central or whatever.
Right.
So
yeah, I was going to change it at one time to make it an hour earlier.
You should.
I had put that out there. Well, I put it out there and people were like, no, don't change it, because the way a lot of people's schedules end up sitting and whatever they're doing during that time, they're like, no, keep it at that time. I was like, okay. So it was like an overwhelming response. Like,
people have spoken. Yes.
I will not touch it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a question here really quick from Cody from Nocturnal's dispatcher page.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For Joe, how's the damage out east?
Yeah, for those that don't know, Iowa had a derecho, I hope I'm saying it correctly, storm go through. It's I had never heard of it before it went through. It went through on Monday, I believe August 10th, if that's the Monday. And it's a inland hurricane. And they clocked winds at the agency I work at up to 140 miles an hour in our city. And the storm was like a Category 3 type hurricane, or maybe even winds of an F3 tornado that hit the whole city and lasted for over about 45 minutes to 60 minutes from start to finish. And it really leveled our whole city. About 60% of our tree population is gone. We have several dispatchers that had house damage, roof damage, and some of them even came into work during the storm by on a bike. One of them did, because she couldn't get out of her house on her car and to help us. And it was probably the most stressful day ever. Cody, thanks for asking. We're doing great. We've got most of the technical issues solved now. And right now it's just a matter of doing what we can to make sure everybody in the city's been getting food, electricity's getting turned back on. And I'm really proud of our dispatchers. So if any of them are listening, I want to thank them for what they've been through in the last 15, 16 days, because it was really, really stressful. And a lot of them have house damage of their own. So a very severe storm, and more from that coming up in the near future as I gather some pictures and some videos to put out to everybody. So definitely with only a 45-minute type storm like that, I'm thinking of everybody again in the Texas, Louisiana type area. I just can't say it enough. We're thinking about you. We're here for you, and we're glad you're joining us tonight. So maybe we could put a smile on your face for just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. When you and I had talked several times after all of that happened, and I was in awe just listening to you.
Mhm.
The whole inland hurricane thing, and I was just
Never heard of it.
all right.
Never heard.
Me neither. Never heard of it.
Well, and just like Kelsey had said up there, because she's out of Iowa as well. I thought I left hurricanes when I left North Carolina. Well,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, and that's
That's
the one other thing I didn't say is it went across the whole state. It was 700 miles long, and it went across our whole state. So it was an interesting type phenomenon, a weather phenomenon, I guess.
Yeah, we get to see it every morning because on the news, it's Sinclair Broadcasting down here, and they do a whole thing about Iowa, specifically where you live, on the news every morning saying we all need to support them and look what they've been through. So every morning we get to see the devastation up there, all those silos that have been knocked over, and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was quite the deal.
Yeah.
Now, kind of talking about these storms and such, it's kind of a good segue here into one of the first topics that we're going to talk about is technology then and now, because a lot of these disasters that are happening and stuff and with the technology that's out now, we're looking at remote dispatch type scenarios.
Sure.
And the technology is there, and some places they have been doing it already for a while. I mean, the first round of this show, we were talking about the virtualization of 911 and how to bring it forth. But what I want to do first before we get to that is I want to talk about some of the early technology. Doug,
I knew it. I knew we were going to do that.
well, I had some prepping.
Well, here's the thing. When I started,
Doug, tell us about 911 when dirt was new.
well, when I started, we didn't have cell phones. It was just only people that had cell phones were doctors. We all had pagers, and not the pagers that give the number, the pagers that just beep, and then you got to call some number to see what the message was. So when we entered 911 calls, we got absolutely nothing. I mean, it was up to the dispatchers to figure out where you are, what highway you're on. So we knew the areas so well, backwards and forwards, when I worked in LA County. So we knew every street that they were on. And as technology grew, I remember people being really like, oh, that's never going to work. What's this caller ID thing? That'll never happen. And now look at what we got.
I know.
Right.
I mean, we got texting before I retired, like almost 2 years ago. And we were thinking, oh, man, we're going to get hit so hard with texting because people love to text. We barely got any.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, what is going on here? I thought we'd be loaded because we all lived in a college town. But I keep telling people in classes, I teach a class about thinking about the future. And I'm like, where's it going in 10 years from now? 10 years ago, we didn't have half this stuff. What's it going to be 10 years from now? Is it going to be holograms on your console? It's going to be that Obi-Wan Kenobi thing.
I was going to say that.
Leia?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, somebody put up on Facebook the other day and I don't know how I feel about this, but how it's going to send the 911 call to the responding officer.
Oh, yeah. There's
the same time you're answering.
Yep.
So I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about caller ID and the dispatch. Going back a little bit, the dispatch center that I worked at before I ended up going to the private side, dude, we didn't even have caller ID on the actual phone. Like, if there was a non-emergency call that came in, it didn't pop up there. Now, we finally asked for it because we said that would really help us out. And if somebody calls in, because not all emergency calls happen on 911.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
There were a couple times where we took suicidal calls. One that I remember when I was in training, and the person called and then was talking and then hung up. It's a 10-digit line. There's no caller ID. We didn't have.
They had to get out the big Hanes crisscross, those big books that weighed 45 pounds.
You know what's really funny. This is really going to date me, so I hate to even say it, but nowadays, if you
already know that you were.
Nowadays, you take a call and you can listen to it immediately. Playback. You can play back the call and listen to it. When I first started, we had to go to reel to reel.
Oh yes.
And turn the wheel, spin the
what
to listen to a call. So it was like, there was no fast, like, hey, let's go listen to that again. No, it's like, oh God, hold on. Take the tape off, put a different tape on, and do it
You
that
had
way.
to change them every 24 hours. You had to go in, and so there was that little bit of time when there was no recordings, and everybody was like, okay, here we go.
See, Leslie's up there with me because she knows that stuff. So
Yeah, and Joe and I are like,
yeah.
I got
No cell
one.
phones, no internet.
I got one, and then my one would be the fact that even when I started, there were no computers in our squad cars. And now when they lose their computers in their squad cars, you hear, oh my gosh, the computers are down. But my even better one was the security cameras at the law enforcement agency I worked at. They were being recorded to VCR tape.
Oh my God.
So every morning at 6 o'clock, we had to get up, push rewind on all, I think it was maybe 2 or 4 different VCR cassette tapes. That thing would go and rewind for 20, all the time. And then we had to grab the new VCR tapes, put them in, date them on a thing, and then put them in this like a storage area. So we were recording security around the building on VCR tapes when I started. So
And
that's
were cutting edge.
Yeah.
We were cutting edge back then. That's the thing. And to Doug's point, stuff is changing so quickly. What is going to happen? The next 5 to 10 years, it's not going to look anything like it does today. Nothing.
Yeah, right. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, just today they posted a thing that I think it was somewhere in Ohio, if I saw it right, is now they can video conference with the 911. I know there's other places, but Ohio, just somewhere in Ohio launched it, I think, where they're able to grab a hold of video from the 911 caller's phone and interact with it.
Yeah, I saw somebody put up something about that, a director of 911 from someplace. And his thing was, I have to prepare our dispatchers to see it now.
Right.
Not just take the call, but to actually watch it happen. And that can change everything. And when I brought that up to classes, I get so many dispatchers to say, oh, hell no, I don't want to see it. And it's like, it's going to happen. We're going to have to go with the times. It's going to happen. So
and you can't put that video on hold. So it's not like you can be watching something and another 911 line rings and you got to pick that up. It's like, now you're a witness. Yeah. Now you're an eyewitness to what, and it raises a lot of red flags. And just the stress and the mental well-being of, like you're saying, a lot of dispatchers want to be a part of public safety, but they don't want to see all of that stuff. And I think it's really going to have to up our game with how we manage stress and counseling and debriefs and peer support and just all of that stuff that, again, 5 years ago we didn't talk about, now is going to become an absolute that has to happen.
Well, daily. On the flip side of that, though, for the not so serious calls, if the caller can see the dispatcher, I mean, you really have to be able to not react going, oh my God.
So I thought you were saying that you needed to be camera ready.
Does that happen?
Well, yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of the, like the paper plate with the smiley face.
Yeah.
So avatar comes on the screen.
How many people who are watching right now, how many of you are using some of these systems where you are able to do video and everything? I don't know that I know a lot of people, personally, that are using this right now, but also this also brings up another question. So I wrote an article for the IAED. It was a huge it was a magazine that was all dedicated to like 50 years from now, what
like a futurist type thing.
Like.
Sure.
Yeah. And I wrote my article like an old journal, almost like a time capsule type thing, where a dispatcher from the future finds it from someone from the past.
Sure.
Cool, and what I talked about in there was how technology had moved so fast, and what we ended up losing for a while was the human element, and that we needed to get that back. And that, there were also different things that we needed to do for mental health and wellness and such because of video and people being able to see it. But that weird turn, that the closure that they never got was they finally got it because they were able to see it, and in that same sense it actually kind of helped.
Right.
So
that's interesting.
I've had a lot of people complain that if we do get video, and there are many centers out there that have they don't have a lot of staff, so you're working the radio and you're working the phones, and if you're stuck on a radio looking at this,
saw that.
if you're looking at something, it's like what if you missed something on that video because you're watching radio at that same exact time, or the caller thinks you're not listening because you're talking on the radio? I mean, there's things I like to, when I teach classes, I show Popular Mechanics. Remember that magazine from a long, long time ago that talks about flying cars in 1990? And I'm like, so what are we predicting for the next thing coming up for our business? It's going to change. And we better be ready to do it. And I just remember that was Mike Snowden, the guy that talked about preparing his dispatchers.
It's one of my homeboys. I know him.
Yeah,
there you go. And I have his news article he had, and I show it in classes. But it's so true, because we have to get ready to say, are you going to be okay seeing this? Seeing something happen right in front of you. I mean, I guarantee every single person listening and on here has had phone calls where we can't get that voice out of our head.
Right.
After all this time, but imagine seeing it.
Right. And the thing that scares me, and Ricardo, as you're talking, because of COVID, I know there have been some agencies that have come up with, and the technology exists, where they're actually working from home. So they're actually answering 911 calls. They can log into a virtual desktop and they can essentially work from home, which on the one hand, you think, oh, so cool. I can answer 911 in my pajamas, sign me up. But then on the flip side, we're talking about all of these very traumatic experiences. Yeah. And when I'm in a center and my partner hears me taking that call, they're going to check in on me. They're going to make sure that I'm okay. I have somebody that I can immediately talk to. And when I'm at home and I'm handling that, and now I just got to sit and process it. Yeah. And then I got to answer the next call. I don't know. I think we should be very careful with, I want to work from home, because that human element that you're talking about is such a vital part. We opened this round 9 with how important it is for relationships and feeling like we're a family. Yeah. And if we isolate ourselves so much that we're working from home, I think that too can have a negative impact on.
Well, I think they're saying with the COVID and the kids going to school, they're saying the same thing, that the kids are missing out on the camaraderie that they get in school.
Yeah. I think also that the video will most likely, hopefully, be one way where they don't see us, we only see them.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it's being built, but I could be wrong. And then the second thing, the number one thing when it comes to video in my mind, obviously, is the personnel, period. The people dealing with it, by far, in a way, the most important thing. Yeah. But there's more that comes into it, because right now, like when the county attorney at your agency or whoever wants a copy of that 911 call and you have to produce it, you just give them the audio file. If it came in on video, are you then going to have to give them the audio file plus the video? And then if somebody texts you the text, and can you reproduce that? Sure. Can you store it? And those things all have to be considered as well. So the personnel, though, by far and away the most important. But there's a lot more that comes into play with video.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only that.
Court. You would have to go to court. Now it's just you're the caller. Like, I had to go to court a couple times for domestic calls that I took. And they're like, you're the witness, so you got to come in. Well, I listened, but now you're really seeing everything.
Yeah. And not only that, pay
attention to.
Well, when they play a tape in court, they slow it down. They play and you hear all the other things you missed as a dispatcher because other things are happening. I guarantee that's going to happen with video, because you're going to say, well, why didn't you see that happen? Why didn't you see that going on in your screen? Well, I'm busy. That's why.
Right. And I think the video setup is hopefully going to be, and this, just for anybody who's listening and is scared about what's about to happen in the video world.
Explicit thing today. Nice.
Is get involved, whatever that is at your agency, whether it's at your agency or regionally or at a state level or nationally with different associations. Get involved in that discussion so we can have a voice at the table. Because very often, and maybe I'm just speaking out of turn, this is my agency, but very often there are decisions that are made and it's just like, just put it in dispatch. Just put it in dispatch. And it's like, really? I would have been nice if somebody had asked me. So if you are that person who's like, okay, I need to learn more about this. How can I get involved? Reach out to us, reach out to Ricardo, reach out to your associations, Nina and APCO and all of those other places, and find out, hey, what's happening? Educate yourself, because and I'm watching some of the videos or the chat on the side. It's going to happen, but we don't have to just be, okay, I guess we're going to do this. You can get involved right now. And I think it's vitally important that we do that.
Yeah, I hope we're not scaring anybody with this coming up, because I guarantee when
We're talking.
I guarantee that when we started getting more technology, when I started, a lot of us were saying, "Oh my God, we're gonna miss." And it's like, okay, when we got computers in the cars, the same thing. It's something we just have to work through, and we'll deal with it. It's like, when we got texting, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but when we got texting, when I left, we still had this problem. There is no translation on text. Text comes in, and if it's another language like Russian or something, hola. I mean, I don't know what I'm
Yeah, Google Translate. Yeah,
Hey, Google.
Flip a tab.
Yeah. So it's, and that was thrown at us. And I said, how come nobody thought about this before you gave it to us? Oh, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck.
The other thing I'd stress is that we focused a lot on the things of questions that are unknown and maybe the negative. But if you look at a lot of the technology changes so far in 911, they've improved 911 dramatically. And hopefully that trend would continue.
Yes. And I think dispatch as a profession, whether you call yourself an emergency communication specialist, so whatever your title is, we are resilient by nature. Fluid and flexible. So even when stuff comes down at you from, other people who have made decisions, we're like, okay, let's go. And, I've not heard of any dispatcher going, oh, hell no, I'm out. No way. We're like, okay, let's go. And I think most of the dispatchers who are working now, and I will throw myself under the bus, they're young and excited. I'm old, not as excited.
Well, thank you for admitting that. This is a self-help line now. So,
but I think that's the evolution of technology. I think for any of us who have parents or older family members who are on Facebook, it's only because they needed to stay in touch with their grandchildren. And I think that's how technology is evolving, is we are going to maybe kicking and screaming, but we're going to do it and then realize, hey, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes. No, exactly. I've got something that I can tell you, something that happened to me when I was first working within digital. I was one who was going around and training different dispatch centers on how to use it. And we were out in West Virginia. We were in Charleston. Shout out to my homies in Kanawha County. and I was out there with them, and I remember someone come, or I heard someone say, oh, so-and-so probably is not going to like this because, people don't like change. And I said, who? And there were two, a little more seasoned dispatchers, and they
very experienced people.
Those two women were amazing. They were the ones who actually, they're like, check this out, look what we can do. And I'm just standing there, and I looked over at the other people, and they're like, and the other ones were the ones who were more like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this, but they were kicking ass and taking names. They were wanting to jump into it and everything. And so that was really cool. Now I had put something in here really quick. I had thrown out a question, and I said, what are some things you would not want to see, or would you rather have like videos and such sent to maybe a supervisor? Because when I was working over there, that was one of the things that we were trying to do with different customers, is say, look, it's built for this, but we want to do it where it's going to help all of you. It's going to benefit you. So how do you want to see it? Do you want it to go to, a supervisor profile, have profiles, and then it would just go to supervisors, and then you can email it out to offices or something like that. However you want to do it, because we want to make sure that, we're building this for all of your people.
Yeah. And I think to that end, to me, that sounds like, oh my gosh, we are going to be creating promotional opportunities for dispatch centers, because right now it's, okay, your line level, maybe you can become a trainer, and maybe that's it. But as technology evolves, I think it's going to force a lot of comm centers to start to create these levels of opportunity for promotion and for doing something different. And that in and of itself is very exciting, because, there is so much responsibility that's going to be placed on people that maybe aren't necessarily answering the call, but that are touching it in some way.
And a lot of people coming into the job now are familiar with technology, so it actually could reduce some training time, possibly. As they add more, the training time may stay the same, but as familiar as people are that are coming into the position with technology now, it could increase efficiencies and improve training time all around,
Right.
in the long run.
But I do think, and I don't know, maybe y'all have experiences at your centers, and Ricardo, you were kind of talking about this earlier, and Joe especially, and, Wisconsin and Galveston and these places that are going to be affected by these storms, is we also can't rely so much on technology that when it goes down, we don't know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And this was years ago, but we had a guy from LoJack come out.
Oh my God, that was in the 50s.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so what he did was he placed a stolen vehicle, someplace in the city, and he got these two officers, and it was a race. Okay, let's see who can find the stolen vehicle first. Well, one of the officers was a canine, and he couldn't work in his canine unit for whatever reason. So they put him in a regular car, and he didn't have time to sign on to the MCT. I had been at the agency for 28 years, so I know which streets go under the freeway or over the freeway or dead end at the freeway. He didn't, because he had always been, okay, well, the MCT tells me the address and it tells me how to get there. And so when it came to knowing the quick ways north and south and east and west, it was, didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geography is the biggest thing.
Yeah. We just, it's great when it works. And I think it definitely changes the way we do things, but you can't ignore the basics. You still have to pay attention.
That's why I used to, even though we had a CAD that did all this stuff, we still trained on maps, because if the CAD goes down, you better know how to use a map, because
yes,
line them all up.
Yeah. Geography is probably the most important. But Ricardo, you got in a lot of comments on the question you asked about what's something you wouldn't want to hear or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to circle back to that real quick. And what popped in my mind right when I saw you write that question is a lot of people work in the agency that they dispatch for, and know family and friends. And if a video call came in with a family and a friend, no matter what kind it is, that's what popped in my mind when I saw that question, is really anything with the family and friend, just because I think their personal connection would also be there as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because Ricardo had that with his grandmother, and
right.
I mean, I've never had a call with a family member involved. Thank God. I can't imagine the extra thing and adds on there to have that.
Yeah.
So a video would really make it a lot worse.
Yeah,
I think
it would be difficult, and so people are here agreeing as well. Yeah, use a map.
Yeah, I see that.
We still need to learn to read a map. Yeah. That was one of the first things that they taught us. And actually, the CAD system that I used back in the day was like this DOS type. I think it was called the AS400 or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you know it?
Oh yeah, I learned on it too.
You had to memorize everything, the town code, the city code, the ORIs, which I think I still remember some of those as well, but you couldn't get anywhere unless you put all of that in first, and then you could get it in, unless you did, like a quick call. But man, officers would get pissed off because they'd say, where are we going? And I was like, damn it,
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to kind of throw Doug under the bus, because I stole this idea from him, and I think it's phenomenal. Is, Doug would have oral interviews where people are coming in to, they want to become a call taker, a dispatcher, whatever. And so as they're answering questions, they would give them a Thomas guide or a map book and say, okay, do you know how to use this? Yes or no, whatever. Okay, well, here's a brief description on how to do it. Okay, what I'd like you to do is find where you are right now, which meant that they had to know the address and they had to know how to use the map book. But while they're doing this, they're still asking them questions.
Yeah.
So there's that, that context switching, the multitasking. And, Doug would say, well, there would some people would be just like, oh, forget it. But then others would work through it. And I thought, man, what a great way.
The best part was I would take a highlighter and I highlight our office on the map. So if they just got to the page and look for a highlighted, they could see our little police station.
Yeah.
So I'd have people on the page sitting there going, I know it's here somewhere. I'm not sure, it's here somewhere. And I'm like, dear God.
Dude, we did something similar when I was in training at Allegan. my trainer she printed out the little map that we had in front of us and in front of each console, and she gave me a call, and then she marked where 3 different officers were, and she wanted me to show her which one was the closest. And I remember when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is easy. And I messed something up, and she goes, actually, you would do this one because there's this and this and these different roads. And I thought, damn it. I knew that because I did a geo ride and I knew that it was there. And I thought I was cool. And I just jumped into it. And so
I just always try to tell people technology is great and it's wonderful. And oh my God, it's perfect. But it goes down sometimes. It don't work all the time. And you better be ready instead of just going, okay, well, we're done. Let's go home. It's like, no, when the CAD goes down, you better start figuring out how to do something. So,
ours, that AS400 would go down every single night at 1 a.m. from 1 to 4.
Yeah.
And every time we would tell the officers out on the road, CAD's down from 1 to 4, we're going to be doing entries this way, and they would always
say, okay, are you clear to run 6?
What's my number? I'm like, well, it's down. Oh, okay, well, just let me know later. And we would have new people come in and they would say, well, what do you do now? Like, what do you mean, what do I do? Like, well, how do you type everything? And I'm like, you don't. You use this, like you all the scrap paper,
manual MCT. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I told the story on our We Speak Dispatch, but I was at work when OJ was going on, and we had DOS CAD, the old green CAD with the gray letters that go across. It was great. And because the 50 dispatchers in the room would all hit refresh at the same time, that damn thing failed right in the middle of that OJ situation.
Oh, a little behind the scenes.
Like everybody was like, "Oh my God!" But it was like, "Okay, just get off the CAD for a minute. It'll warm itself back up and come back." And you could hear it kind of hum and come back. So it's
all the stories we've shared so far is that when the CAD comes back at sometimes. But I wasn't working there at the time. But the agency I work at, they went through a flood about 12 years ago, and they were displaced and on CAD cards, but not on an actual system, for over a week. So not only planning to be able to do it for a short time, but also being able to have enough supplies and everything else to be able to do it for an extended period of time if you have to, and definitely training on it when you possibly can.
Right.
So
and I think, and I've heard this from other people, and I know there's some people on my agents or from my agency that are on right now. So this is going to be secret. Don't tell anybody. But I think as supervisors, if you know that you haven't trained on manual CAD for a while, that you just walk in one random day and say, CAD's down. Okay, let's go. And just flip everybody around and have them start using cards, because in the major events, the natural disasters, the O.J. Simpson pursuits, all these things, you're going to need to know how to do that. And we can't forget, we got to have the basics. So
the way we did that, Leslie, at our old agency, Leslie, the way we did that is, this isn't the current agency, but my old agency, I'd walk in and tell them just to turn off their monitors. Because that way, if something major did happen, they could just turn them back on quick. But I would tell them for the next hour, we're on backup systems, and they would just turn their monitors off and have to do everything that way. And it worked really, really well. And I would usually get chief and sheriff to approve of it as well. And it was a great training exercise and everything else. But we did practice that periodically by just turning off the monitors, but keeping the computers running in the background.
And I think it's great training for the field units as well, because like Ricardo's saying, there's always going to be the officer who says, okay, well, what's my number, or clear to run 6, or what's the previous calls at this location? Dude, we're down. I can't tell you.
Yeah, hold on. Nothing showed up, right? Okay, we're out. So, I did meet a dispatcher from Louisiana after Katrina was over, and she was dispatching in a center that flooded over by Slidell. And she said the water was up to her waist, and she was still trying to dispatch units. And but she had the best attitude. She was so like, I knew I had a job to do and I had to do it. And I'm like, damn it, that's why I love dispatchers, because they have that kind of resilience to do that.
They are dedicated.
Because I said, aren't you afraid of being electrocuted? And she's like, I didn't even think about it. I'm like, I love that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Dedication right there.
Yeah.
We talk about new technology coming in, and some people being afraid of it, just like you were saying, Doug, with texting. It really ended up coming on, and like no one really uses it. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of places that do use it, and there have been success, but I think that and I can just speak for the company that I was working for when they were doing texting and looking at the numbers and all. The inbound text to 911 numbers compared to the outbound where they can initiate a text from 911 were completely different. Like for the entire state, they were only doing like 800. And I think that that can be accredited to a good public education campaign.
Yes.
Because people realized it's not supposed to replace voice. No, that's not what it's supposed to do. It's the last straw, really, to get to 911 if you need it.
I think people who are in a traumatic situation are always going to want to have that human contact.
Right.
That they want to hear that voice, and they want to connect with somebody on the voice. And kind of circling back to Ricardo, you were talking about, and we spent some time talking about the video chat. Is we kind of got, oh God, do we want that? But how many of us, because of COVID, have become so reliant upon these types of platforms where now I can see you? I mean, and the We Speak Dispatch crew, we kind of joke that it took a pandemic for us to realize, hold on a second, we can see each other? That's kind of cool. And so, there's that other aspect of, the whole texting, or I'm sorry, the whole video thing can be a little bit scary. But if I can, you can see my face and you can see my expressions and I can see yours and we're connecting that way, that's going to change that component as well.
Right. Yeah. Now, talking about, Joe, you brought this up about, the possibility of seeing friends or family and such. That is also, that's a good segue into the next topic, where we're kind of talking about friends that are out on the road. Now, this was actually something that was brought up in the most recent episode that I had put out for Weekend Trenches, episode 340, where the dispatcher that I was talking to, she was talking about how she was getting to know a lot of the officers and all, and some of the people that she worked with weren't really, down with that. I mean, it's all about developing those relationships, right? Those friendships. And that's what she was getting at, was that by developing those friendships, and a lot of people have said it. I spoke to Ernie Stevens, who's an officer out of San Antonio, and also his story, as well as his partner Joe for Crisis Cops.
Oh yeah, from HBO.
Documentary. He was talking about the same thing, about how whenever he would hear a voice, and I'm sure everyone has heard this as well from certain officers, but when they heard that certain voice on the radio, they knew everything was going to be okay. They knew it was going to be good. So just kind of talking about, having friends in police, fire, EMS, or, those that are out in the road, developing those relationships. I was good friends with almost everybody on all the shifts. And I think it really helped going back and forth, doing the job for all of everyone involved.
Yeah, I think the one thing about it is, when it comes to dispatching, I've always said that if you get to know them and you know their voice in person, when they sound just a little bit stressed, you can instantly know that, hey, they may need another car, or they might be in just a little bit of trouble. And the more you get to know them, I think the more effective you become as a dispatcher. Now, there's also agencies where there's thousands of officers or firefighters, or maybe the firefighters are at stations located throughout the city where they don't get to really know them. And we have 9 different stations that are in our city. And one of the things I've worked on with our fire department is to bridge that gap, because they started working with us really closely about 2 years ago. And one of the things they did is recognized us as an agency that helped support their mission, and invited every dispatcher to an awards banquet for the fire department and gave our department an award overall. And it's really helped improve efficiency with the fire department that we dispatch for. And I think it's really important to develop those relationships so that you can improve along the way.
Absolutely. We were talking just at my agency this past week of the number. when we have new officers come in, they usually come in and do a sit along and dispatch. But with COVID and everything, we've been on lockdown. And so it goes back to that. I'm just a voice now to some of these officers, and they're just a voice to me. And it does take away that connection, because, okay, was that just their normal tone of voice, or are they taking rounds because something has happened? And it absolutely makes a difference. And I think, having friends goes beyond just, not that, Doug.
I didn't say anything.
No, you need to. But I think it also is, going back to the mental health and the peer support, is you can have conversations with people who share what happened, and it's hard sometimes if you go home, you've had a horrible shift, and you're trying to explain to your loved one, hey, this is what happened. And they're going to be there and they're going to say, oh my gosh, that sounds really hard. But if you've got people that you work with, both inside and outside the center, that you can connect with, I think that matters, and it's vital. And I, it's trying to get that program started for a lot of agencies that have said, no officers in here, no dispatchers can't go see the fire stations, all that other stuff. But
that's where we started that dispatch exchange thing, because I saw the connection between the field and our dispatchers. And then I was thinking about the connection between our dispatchers and the allied agency dispatchers. And we wanted them to meet each other, and we would send them out and, meet each other. And it kind of eliminated a lot of, man, that agency's so rude. It was like, no, that's just Brenda or whoever acting that way today. They didn't associate one person with that agency. So I like doing that. I mean, I did work in some pretty large offices where we never saw the officers. I just never saw them. They were 100 miles away. I mean, you never could see them. So, but it was nice to see a lot of them. Like the last office I was in was a pretty small office, and we got to know a lot of them. And, for me, I hate to even say this, for me, it's sort of a double-edged sword, because I've known, about 6 that have been killed. And I was good friends with these guys. And it's like, it makes me always a little bit leery when I was meeting an officer and I'm telling them, like, be careful out there. And it's like, because I'm like, I don't want to see that again. And it's just, it's a horrible feeling to feel that. And I shouldn't feel that about everything, but it just sort of makes you think that way sometimes.
Yeah. And I would say for any dispatcher, even if you don't currently go to roll call or briefing or whatever you call it, ask if you can go, because 9 times out of 10, it's because somebody in patrol didn't even think, oh, maybe we should have dispatch in here. So go be in that environment, because you want to start building those connections in a professional level. And then,
I just saw that with Kelsey. I'm like, come on.
That's a great, wow. It just shows you need to get to know the people you work with.
We're on work release right this way.
When I was in over in Allegan, there was an officer that I talked to for almost 3 years, and he walked in one day, and I'm sitting there running paperwork, and I didn't realize he was a person I was running the stuff for. He had taken in a person for DUI. And he comes up and he goes, "You Ricardo?" And I said, "Yeah." And I heard his voice. I was like, "No way!
I know you."
4-3 or 4-4 or something. I was like, "For real, dude?" After all these years, finally, he's like, "Well, I was coming by. I thought, you know what? I'm going to stop by there." I was like,
"That's cool."
Yeah,
that's
I like that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's
we
cool.
talked for a while, and then we would also do dinners, or if there was, like during Super Bowl. We would have like wings and stuff, and they would stop in, and we really started doing this a lot. And as you're talking about voices and all, and getting to know them and hearing their voices, one of the things early on in the podcast, I remember someone that was on who said, you get into these, your officers get into some of these scary incidents, and you don't know who it is who's yelling out for help right away. You just hear something, so then you start listening to every single voice that's keying up, and you're narrowing it down, and the voice you don't hear, that's how you know who it is. That's
wow.
Yeah. And training with them also, I think, is huge in a way to get to know them. You invite them into your training to, like, if you have canine officers, inviting them into a dispatcher training and having them say what they do, how they train, what they expect from dispatch that help benefit them. And the more we work with them and build those relationships, I think the more effective we can be as dispatchers.
Yeah, I know we brought them into our training days all the time, like our air operations folks and our undercover drug people come in and talk about what they're investigating, whatever. And it was nice to kind of have our dispatchers meet these people and say, like, oh, that's what you do. When you come on the radio, you're usually like something serious. So, and our helicopter guy was telling us, hey, if I have an emergency on board, I'm going to just scream out like where I'm at, and that's it. I can't get much more because I have to tell everybody else around me where I'm at. So we were learning some valuable stuff by meeting these field personnel. So it was great for us. And we actually, one of our training days, we had our training officer come into our training day and let everybody fire a taser. So
yes,
that was really fun.
That's cool.
That was fun.
For us, Doug, it was a fire extinguisher training. Everybody
we did that too.
Had to be trained, and so the fire department brought us over and had a little box outside with a little flame going, and every dispatcher got to pull the pin on the fire extinguisher, fire it, and put the fire out, and learn about them fire extinguishers. And I tell you, they absolutely loved that training, and just getting involved and getting to know the people is huge.
Yeah, we did a felony stop in our backyard in our parking lot. Had dispatch in the car, did a felony stop with them to see how long it takes, because it takes a while to clear a car out and search it and all that stuff. So
that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Those are easy to do. Man. It's nice to kind of get them out. In fact, we even had a used spike strip that we brought it in training day, and the officer showed them how to do it. So no, you cannot choose who to fire that taser.
No, that list would be long.
Yeah, and I would be afraid it would be me. So we had them use a target.
Yeah, we had our dispatchers go through active shooter training where they were the bad guys, and then they also got to be part of the entry team. And we also did canine training. So if you were ever on a ride along and the canine officer went down, everybody needed to know where the sleeve was in the trunk, and if you wanted to, you could take a bite from the canine, and it was pretty cool.
Damn, that is pretty cool.
I did warrant service training with some of our dispatchers where we were the bad guys in a house, and our officers did a entry where they just came into the house. And I've seen it on TV, and I thought, this is nothing. And the sergeant kept telling us, Doug, badmouth them when they come to the door. Tell them, get out of here. So I started doing that, and the next thing I know, I was on the ground, and I'm like, what happened? There were so many of them. I was like, oh God, they're everywhere. It was like really overwhelming. So,
and don't think they won't mess with you, because they'll definitely mess with you. I participated in an active shoot drill at a school they were using paintball guns and this and that. And I got, my first role was be the shocked citizen that keeps his hands in his pockets and won't listen to what they say.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first people they saw walking in. I tasted those lockers that I got shoved into.
Joe, you're just a small little thing. Nobody sees you. It's just tiny.
Yeah.
So they definitely take the training serious. They'll give you some interesting roles if you participate. So just be well aware in advance. They're going to give you some fun roles.
Put handcuffs on me, because I thought, well, they'll just pretend like click. Right. Somebody had handcuffs on behind me, and I'm like,
it goes just click.
Well, when I'm like looking around going, I don't really think I'm supposed to be in cuffs on the ground. They're like, yeah, you are. Shut up. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, our SWAT team threw flashbangs. I'm still having, those things are loud. And I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff. So I did that once, and I'm like, I'm out.
Everyone who's watching right now is probably going to go back to their center and say, okay, you got to check out this episode. We want to do all this stuff too. Like this.
Just ask. This is the way we did our felony stop. Somebody asked us. I wish we could see one of these go down. And I went and asked the officers, would you want to show us one? They said, yeah, we would. Bam.
Yeah, it's very often because they just have never thought of it. So, hey, I don't know a dispatcher who's a wallflower. So come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did canine training a couple times with the team at Allegan. I was actually doing a project for school, and I asked them if I could go back out with them on one of their training runs. So I was out there taking pictures, and they were showing me all this stuff, and they had their dog going around my car, and I thought,
medicinal.
Medicinal. Who's that my pants?
Yeah.
My pants.
Why did the dog sit? Why did
Yeah,
the dog sit?
they were like, "Do you have anything in here?" I was like, no." Like, why would I? He's like, "I wouldn't be working here anymore if I was that
That's
stupid."
hilarious.
Yeah, but it was fun to do that.
They were edibles. That's all.
And then, of course, everybody does ride-alongs, and a lot of those, every ride-along that I did was crazy fun. There was so much shit that happened.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the lucky few out of those that worked at my center that got to go through a bunch of different stuff, actually have things happen. But one of the other things too is having the officers come in to kind of observe on what's going on. Now, I know a lot of centers are doing that now, but there was one time that I remember specifically where there was a bad storm that was going on and we got slammed, and a few of the officers came in to help us. And they were on phones and they were calling road commission and all this other stuff. And I don't know, it was maybe an hour or two into it. And I remember they were saying they were done. And I don't know how you guys can do this. Like, we're done. We belong on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were so short one time that we had one of our lieutenants, pretty new lieutenant. She saw how short we were, and I kept saying, I got to keep working the floor. We're just too short. I don't have enough people. And she's like, would somebody show me how to do it? And I'm like, well, and so she goes, I'll go to the academy for a week, get trained on how to use CAD, and come back and do it. And she was doing it. I'm like,
wow.
The lieutenant was in there doing it.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for somebody to say, I want to speak to your boss.
Yeah. Hold on. She's right here. We would have our officers, because we would have officers come in at the beginning of their training where life's coming at them way too fast anyway. But then we would have them come in at the end of their training. But it wasn't just, okay, you're going to be in here for an hour, just, kick back and do your reports. No. Get on the phone, get on the radio. We'll type for you, but it's all you, dude. Yeah. And so it was really, oh, wow. This is, yeah. When we say we're busy, it's because we're busy. It's not because we're watching Oprah and eating bonbons. I've got 4 calls on hold. Well, it depends on what show, but 4 calls on hold, all this other stuff. Hey, and it helped them. So when we would say, hey, busy on a phone or whatever, they could visualize it. So just like when we can visualize what they're doing in the field, it's equally as important for them to know what we're doing in dispatch.
One of the most interesting things, I got the opportunity to teach because an instructor did show up in our local academy for new officers, new recruits. This was a few years ago. And I just did a topic on understanding the 911 center, and I got all sorts of questions and input. They said if I could just go an hour. I didn't have a ton prepared, and it got such decent reviews from the academy class that they now have me teach that class to every officer that comes on, and being involved in the recruit classes as well and teaching them about the 911 center just a little bit, so they've heard some before they go out on the street.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
knowing what to hear on the radio, pretty important.
Yeah. So for us, our NCIC in Michigan was called Lean. So whenever we would have a traffic grant or drunk driving grant or whichever, we were getting slammed, and we would tell them, go to Lean, stand by on Lean. Or like, we got one, we got to run one. Okay, stand by on Lean. And there would be a couple times where they would send me a message and say, are you guys really that busy? Or you just and I would send back, even though I wasn't supposed to, because it's MCT traffic. And they always say, don't type anything that you don't want to end up in the news.
Hello.
Say, we're not dicks, okay? We're really doing stuff. And don't do what I do. Don't do that. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Don't do what I did. At that point, I didn't care. So I would send them that on MCT and say, we're not being dicks, okay? We've a lot of shit going on. So stand by on Lean.
So let's talk a little bit about radio etiquette.
Yeah, but you said DIX, right? Just dicks, like it's some kind of technical thing like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the best one is when you tell the officer on the radio, stand by, we got multiple, and then they call your phone. And you're like, for me, I'm over here.
Can you run one quick? I'm like, dude, you were just on the radio. Now I got to put you on hold again.
Yeah. And be assured, I am going to put you on hold now.
Get ready.
It happens. So talking about radio etiquette.
Oh my.
So, and the only reason I bring this up is I was having a conversation earlier with a good friend, and we were talking about radio etiquette. And I remember now, for all of you that are watching, I don't know if this is the same way for you, but whenever we would mess up something on the radio, we would say check or check that. And I remember a coworker at one time said check like 5 times.
Oh yeah.
And it was all part of the one sentence that they were trying to get out.
Yeah.
Make sure you respond to 108th and 54th. No, check. 50th, check. And they did this over and over and over. And I remember the last one was check. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Wow.
They unkeyed, chuckled for a moment, and then keyed back up, and then was able to get it out. But I thought, damn.
Nice.
And the
That's
officer
funny.
just, kind of chuckling and says,
Yeah.
10-4, we'll be en route.
Well, whatever.
To check that out.
Check.
Yeah, we'll check it.
Yeah, we say correction. That's
correction. Okay.
Yeah, and I have been in situations where I'm talking to normal people who don't work in public safety, and I'll misspeak and I'll say, "Oh, correction," and they're like,
Yeah.
It becomes part of your vernacular."
I'll tie it all the way back into our first topic of old and new. So for us, corrections, the officers or law enforcement used to click us all the time because we didn't get their name. So if they didn't like something that we sent them to, they just start clicking and not saying 10-4 and everybody's clicking you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our forced corrections is.
Well, we would say, can you 10-9? Can you repeat that? Every time they click, we'd say, can you 10-9? I couldn't believe that click.
Yeah.
And now we get their name or their car number. So
I wish we would get that.
Took it away.
Said because we get the clicking all the time. That just drive me crazy. It's like you can say copy or tempo or something. You don't have to just click the damn mic. It's like it's okay. And when I was new back in LA, this is when our motor officers had those microphones.
61.
And so it used to, as they were driving like 100 miles an hour, these motorcycles, their mic would be hitting their mouth, and you'd hear and it's like, oh my god! I mean, you're like, I have no idea what he just said.
Yeah,
like on Wayne's World when they're ordering the donuts and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, same.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So you talk about 10-9.
Yes.
So 10-9 at our agency is also repeat your last traffic.
Yeah.
So just for people who don't know me, this is my license plate.
10 forking 9.
10-9. What the hell did you just say to me? I've had people, I've had agencies pull me over and just go, cool plate. Yeah.
Well, I did.
That's awesome.
So I used to work at our academy, and I had on my license plate frame our area numbers are numbered. There's 3-digit numbers, and I got the wrong number put on my plate. It was supposed to say 048, which was the communications training program, but it was 002, which is internal affairs. So I got pulled over one time, and the officer walks into my car very nicely. I rolled down the window, and he goes, "Where do you work?" And I said, "At the academy." And he goes, "See ya." I'm like, he was thinking I was internal affairs. I saw that guy later on, and he said, "Where do you actually work?" And so I told him. He goes, "But that's not the right number." I said, "I know they messed it up. I don't, you know."
Yeah,
That's
radio
funny.
etiquette's important.
But you know, the funny thing is on radio. Did you guys ever do where somebody's really getting nasty with you, and you're like, "Goat head," and they're like, "Did you just say goat head?" And it's like, "No, go ahead."
We would say goat head, or I remember one of the troopers. He always thought he was that he was cool. I'll just put it that way. He thought he was cool, and I remember he said something to me on the radio, and it was real shitty what he had said, and I had responded back saying, 10-4, I'll make sure to store that in the back of my head. And and that was it. And I had just said it, and after I said it, I thought,
Oh,
maybe I should. I was fresh off of training too, and I thought, dang. But so then I get a phone call, and they're like, "Ricardo, it's the sergeant."
uh-oh.
The sheriff's department, though, the sheriff's department. And I pick up the phone, and I said, "Yeah, man, what's going on?" And I had to wait because he was laughing so hard. And he goes, "That was amazing." I didn't believe that. And he got off the phone, and I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like I thought I was dead. I thought I was hit.
Woo!
Yeah.
Hey, how is Kelsey saying towel instead of 10-4? How does that even sound the same?
Towel?
Towel?
I don't know.
Towel?
That's pretty cool. And the fact that nobody corrected her. They're like, Chelsea, it's really supposed to be 10-4.
Sweetie, you're saying towels.
Right.
You need something to mop up? What do you got going on?
That's hilarious.
And the pronouncing of names also for radio etiquette always goes both ways.
Oh,
Like the officers will spell one to you and they'll be like, last name ZXQZYSTZY. And if the dispatchers sometimes key up and just say, can you pronounce that last name so I could just make sure I know what I'm entering or anything like that?
Or,
and then, but they will,
when they have a really terrible last name and they say common spelling.
Yeah.
You're like,
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Common spelling for who?
Yeah. Or you get into, because at my agency, when we run plates, we'll give the last name of the registered owner.
Yeah.
And, as dispatchers, very often we don't read ahead. We just, as it's happening, we're reading it. And you bring up the registration, you're like, yeah, out of Chino. Yeah, I'm not saying that. And that's like the code for.
And then there's always those names that are spelled certain way, like FUCHS.
Oh yeah.
And then how do you key up and say that over the radio?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And all those other names that you might run into as well. So that's always entertaining.
The ones you do not say, you just go phonetic with them back to them, saying no.
Yeah.
I sounded that out in my head and not doing it.
I wouldn't miss an opportunity to do it. I would go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Well, here's a funny radio one was, this is kind of years ago. It's kind of dating me again, but there was a girl in training in LA, working South LA. They put out a broadcast for a guy that just robbed a bank. LAPD gave us a description to us, and so she's putting the description out, but she messed up because she didn't read the log completely. And so she goes, it's a male, whatever. And she goes, apparently his name is Jerry Curls. Because remember, Jerry Curls had that. Yeah. And we were all in the room just standing up like, what did she just say? What?
Yeah.
And she had no clue that she said it that way. And she was like, Jerry Curls, is that his name?
Yeah. So it could be. Sure.
Well, try going over the radio and reading a message that you had typed out. So you're typing out a message to send to a different officer, and you key up on the radio to tell them information on their call, but you read like a line. Not only did I do that on the radio, but I did that on a phone call with someone once. And I don't even remember what it was. I know it was a non-emergency call, and it was the same thing. I had typed something out. It was right on the line, and I had it there, and I'm talking to the caller, and then I said part of what I was typing, what I had typed out, and she goes, "I'm sorry, what was that?" And I just went, I'm really sorry.
I'm not sure what I'm saying.
A message, and I read that to you for whatever reason as a response.
I hope it wasn't that inappropriate message you sent a while ago about being a dick. So that was
no. But he laughed with me though. So
the coworkers that also will mess with you in dispatch. If you work at an agency where call takers enter the call and dispatchers dispatch the call, and then does the dispatcher read it verbatim, every single word that other dispatcher typed in?
Yeah.
And are they having fun? And suspect, has flat feet or whatever, some strange thing describing the suspect. Yeah. Will the dispatcher absolutely read it verbatim, or will they summarize it?
Yeah, you're reading, and then you're like unkeying. What the hell?
Did you really type that in there?
Now,
fun in dispatch.
Do you laugh on the radio, or do you unkey?
Oh, I am.
Mess up.
It depends on what's going on, but I've done it before. The bad thing is I've been so tired sometimes at work where I'm on the radio and I'm just kind of like dozing for a second, and I hear a unit talk, and I'll key down and say hello. I'm like, go ahead. Like what?
Oh God!
I only asked because I was one of those who a BOL, BOLO, depending on where you're at in the United States, people say it different. I'll be on the lookout. I would be on the radio, and I would be in a hurry, and I would just open it and immediately start giving it out. I would see the location, and I would start giving it out, Elegant Central to East Side units, and then I would start reading it, and then I would mess it up, and I'm like, oh my God, like. Like, I wouldn't
You say, "Oh my God," on the radio?
No. I didn't say it. I was thinking it, but I would mess it up, and then I would still be keyed up, and I would chuckle, and I would say, "Let me try that again," and then I would just start reading it, and finish it off. But I thought I would. Oh man, it was
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, and I've done that too, where it's you just are right in the middle of something, and you're just like give up, and you're just like, hold on, I'll say it again. And I had somebody send me, and I still have the printout. She sent me a MDT message saying, "I love the way you broadcast because you're like talking to us." Because I would be like, just stop, like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, go ahead, whatever. I just can't forget it.
Or when the officers come back, when you're giving a description of them, a hunter walking on the side of the road wearing camouflage, and they say, "Well, how did the caller see them?"
Yeah,
And you're like,
oh, gun.
Yeah.
Well, you give them a description, that's everything, hair color, age, what they're wearing, they've got glass, all that stuff, and then they'll come back and did they have a parrot tattoo?
Yeah. No.
Really? All that? And okay, whatever.
Yeah.
God, I love that with Kelsey. It looks like a guy. Well,
Yeah, looks like a
nothing
guy.
more. Let's go with it.
But so I have a question to throw out here,
Sure.
because there's a guy that I know in Ohio, and his agency does this, and it's like, okay, this is not how we work.
Is he on there today?
When a unit comes on duty in the morning, they'll say, "Good morning," or when they go home at night, "Good evening, sir. Good night, sir. Good night, ma'am." And I'm like, or they'll say thank you and please and all that other stuff, and I'm like, no, we don't.
You're rude, man.
I am
I
rude.
love that.
Yeah, we don't do that.
I love that stuff. It makes it personalized. This is where you get to know people.
Yeah. I think it can be once in a while, Leslie. I kind of in between you two. I just don't think it should be every radio transmission.
Yeah. So
Well,
when everybody's coming up, it's good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Well, half of them don't even turn the radios on until they get in the car. But
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
but I'm at least nice. I would say that. I'd say like, good evening, whatever. It's like I'm not just rude, like just give them a click.
If someone said it on the radio, I would say it back. But
I would too.
If they didn't, then
Yeah. No, I mean,
I never did. So
yeah.
Yeah. If somebody says thank you to me on the radio,
You
my
just
response, I'm just like, whatever. No, my response is code 1, which is our code for I acknowledge, code 1. But I'm not going to.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's just sad.
I know.
God, how rude are you? Jesus. This is just sad. No wonder you work in a small town. God.
You know what?
God almighty.
you get your code 1, your code brown.
Oh Lord. Oh God. Are we going to go down that path?
No.
Okay.
I will leave it there because
Okay. All right.
Oh, mama.
we had a Zoom meeting where we went down that path
Yes.
before We Speak Dispatch started, and it was absolutely
It was
interesting to know about all the experiences people have had involving those codes.
Yes.
various and assorted codes.
This is why we do Zoom happy hour after privately. We don't do
It makes sense.
because I'm afraid Kelsey would be updating something over here saying
Well, we have wait a minute.
Towel.
Thank you on the radio. I respond towel.
Towel. That's awesome.
That is funny.
oh my God.
I'm going to say that tomorrow on the job. Towel. Just to see if anybody goes.
Yeah. See if anybody says anything about it.
Oh my Lord.
Well, this has been excellent. It has. I mean, we're almost gone an hour and a half here. So
God.
Crazy.
Gotta go to bed.
Grandpa.
Where's my Metamucil?
bring him his Werther's so that he can go to sleep.
Werther's.
Oh man, no, seriously, thank you all for being here. This has been a lot of fun. Joe, where can everyone who's watching learn more about We Speak Dispatch and email, shows,
Yep,
website?
you bet. We're on WeSpeakDispatch@gmail.com. We typically post an episode on Facebook and YouTube somewhere in the middle of the week. That same podcast episode will be broadcast to our podcast platforms, which is Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Google, Anchor, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Breaker, and Overcast. And then I am affiliated with 911 Gold Line Training, and you can also find me at www.911goldlinetraining.com.
Beautiful.
Woo!
Wow.
And Doug Showalter, where can people find more about you?
Showalter and Company. You can get
snap.
us on Facebook, Showalter and Company. We have a website, showaltercompany.com. We're out there. We're all over the place too. Not as much as Joe's got us on podcasting, but I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, all that. So please contact us. Go over to our Facebook page. I post new stuff all the time, so you can see it.
Excellent. And Leslie, as a NINA instructor, man, I saw your the TC tips that went out.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice. That was
Thank
excellent. How can people find out more about some of the classes and everything that you're doing?
So you can always go to the NINA website, www.nina.org. My email address is Leslie911ENP, Edward Nora Paul, @gmail.com. But, what? But yeah, check us out at NINA. We've always got our calendar, training classes that are coming up. COVID's kind of thrown a wrench in things, but we're out there, and we'll always be on We Speak Dispatch, and look forward to connecting with everybody. And for Dare to Be Great too, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
It is.
And hey, one quick thing about We Speak Dispatch. If you want to be on with us, you can email us and say you want to be on with us, and we'll put you on the Zoom with us. So there you go. Look at that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. I'm going to bring your screen down, and I will be right back with you. For all of those who are watching and listening, thank you very much for tuning in for round 9 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. If you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that is going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that'll be wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches Podcast. This episode has been sponsored by In Digital, as well as Rapid Deploy, and the show will always be free. However, if you're looking for any bonus content, the behind the scenes series that I'm doing, the Singing Badly in My Car songs that I do, as well as discounts to the store and t-shirts, all types of swag, you can check us out, and that'll be patreon.com/WTT podcast. Thank you so much to the patrons and all those who listen and watch and support. I wouldn't be able to do all of what I do without all of you. So thank you so very much. And again, to my sponsors In Digital and Rapid Deploy. This episode can be seen 24/7 on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. And the audio portion, when it gets added, and also for Within the Trenches podcast, the flagship show of the Code 7 Podcast Network, you can hear that 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone.